Oh yes, that was the end boss! What's next? Next level, the 12 Pymetrics games. Oh wow, that sounds cool. Whether the Pymetrics test is cool or not, you will be able to judge for yourself at the end of this video tutorial. Welcome to this complete walkthrough and guide on the 12 Pymetric games. If you are watching this video, you most likely have to soon take a Pymetrics test as part of your job application to BCG, Bain, Accenture or PwC. However, the Pymetrics test is now widely used as a candidate assessment tool by many further top companies such as JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley or LinkedIn, at least occasionally. In fact, if you find your target company on this screen and are asked to do the Pymetrics test, then I've made sure you find everything that you need in this video tutorial. What are you going to learn in this video? First, I will give an introduction to what the Pymetrics test is about, but keep it short since I know what you are watching for. I will then walk you through the actual 12 Pymetrics games in detail, explain to you what to expect, share foolish and often my personal strategy advice on each of the 12 games. After the detailed guided tour through the games, I will share my overall advice and 5 tips on how to best prepare for, practice and tackle the Pymetrics games. For didactic reasons, I take you through the games in a slightly different order than the order in which you will go through them on your Pymetrics assessment day. Therefore, I will give you my recommendations on how to optimize your performance for that sequence of games. Very importantly, towards the end of this video, I'm also going to share my advice on what you should not do to prepare for the games. So, how can I win the Pymetrics games? I will tell you. Just saying, for those of you who do not make it until the end of this video, I've compiled a free and growing resource collection with links to free practice tests in order to help you prepare for consulting online tests. These mock assessments that are available for free will also help you if you need to pass online tests when applying in banking or other industries. I continue updating my online test prep kit and have now also added further links and resources on the Pymetrics test to it as well. You can download my online test prep kit immediately and of course for free after signing up to my UN Consulting newsletter, link in the video description. My name is Jack. I spent 5 years as a consultant and project manager with the world's leading management consulting firm McKinsey & Company and now serve as an independent management advisor. Here on UN Consulting I share my best business and consulting career advice with you in a fun way. What are the Pymetrics games? Pymetrics as a company was founded around 10 years ago, and as you can see from its ever-growing list of corporate clients, it has been extremely successful. Pymetrics got recently acquired by Harvard, another online aptitude test company, so that it's quite possible that this list of companies asking their candidates to take the Pymetrics test will grow further. The Pymetrics test essentially is another, but somewhat different online aptitude test used by companies to assess the capabilities of their applicants. The most common capability assessments often feel just like another exam, where you have to solve more traditional math quizzes or IQ tests. The Pymetrics test indeed is different here, as it comes in the disguise of 12 computer games, claiming to offer you a fun experience as a candidate. That's not about it though. Pymetrics also pledges not to be just another aptitude test software measuring your intellectual performance. No, it claims that once you have finished the game, it has gained an understanding of your character as a human being. In fact, its AI algorithms measure more than 90 character traits summarized in 9 different categories, namely these ones, such as your emotional intelligence, generosity or risk tolerance, just to name a few. The promise that Pymetrics makes to you as a candidate is that it was not designed to filter you out from a large pool of applicants, but to get to know you as a person and find out if you, with your character, would be a good fit for the position you apply to or a better fit for another job. And yes, I have a thing for cheesy animations. Here to entertain you. I think this is a very bold claim and I will revisit it at the end of this video. But I promise you to keep this intro short to allow you to develop your own judgment. Let's play. My friend, are you ready? Yes, waiting for instructions. Digits. Let's go. Digits is a rather simple game in terms of its instructions. You are displayed a sequence of several digits for very short periods of time, actually split seconds, and are then asked to note the sequence of numbers down. Of course, this game is designed to test your ability to memorize things. Let us run a brief practice session together so that you get a feeling for this game. Get ready to take one round of it yourself now. In a few seconds you will see 4 digits. try to memorize them. Ready, steady, go! First, you may wonder where this footage comes from. Of course, it is not allowed to record the test without violating the Pymetrics intellectual property rights, but what you just saw comes from a perfect simulation of the actual Pymetrics games. So, did you get the 4 numbers? If so, well done. You may think that this seems a little too easy, and I must tell you, you're right. The game works like this. Whenever you guess a sequence right, you will be confronted with another sequence, but it will be 1 digit longer. If you fail to give the correct number, the next sequence will be a digit shorter again, and after 3 fails, the game finishes. I must say, I personally have always been a little bored by memory games, so my first game I already struggled after the sequence had grown to 7 or 8 digits, I think. However, I then practiced the game a few times more and realized, instead of adopting some memory mastermind strategies for this game, I could just watch the screen to read the numbers and take them down on a piece of paper at the same time. Let us try the game another time. Get a pen and a piece of paper. Ready? Here are 8 digits this time. My friend, try this strategy. Well done. Easy peasy now. When I applied this strategy, I easily could memorize 15 digits and beyond and just aborted the game since I got bored. So the main issue is that normally you cannot practice the game and have no opportunity to improve your strategy over time. However, you now already know better. Have pen and paper ready from the onset and take the digits down immediately, the one and only time you must go through this game. Mind you, the digits game instructions specifically ask you not to write down the digits while they are being displayed to you, probably since it knows that it is the simplest way to crack it. This is a little funny to me, given the games are designed to assess whether you are smart. Anyway, hence maybe you do not want to take this strategy to the very extreme in case the game punishes you for being overly smart. I cannot give you the exact number of digits expected from a smart human being, but being able to memorize maybe 15 digits already seems decently smart to me. Next game. Balloons. Again, the instructions for the balloons game are explained fast. You are presented with a balloon and can decide to pump it a little. Each time you succeed in pumping the balloon a little further without making it burst, a prospective reward of $5 is added to a virtual money pot. However, if you pump the balloon too much, this happens. I always hate it when people are doing that. This means you need to pump your balloons for some time, but collect the rewards before they burst. However, it is neither good if you collect the rewards too early, because then you leave that balloon as is and need to pump the next one. There's no time constraint in this game, but you get to pump only 39 balloons in total, so in the best case scenario, you want to max out the balloon's capacities, stock up some good money and collect it and stop pumping just before bursting. Essentially, this game wants to measure your risk appetite or aversion. Now, how can you act smartly in here? When I played the game for the first time, I was just clicking a bit around without a real strategy. That was bad. As you find out over the course of the game, there are balloons with different colors, currently 3 of them. Depending on the balloon colors, the balloons either burst almost immediately or can last very long. They have different capacities or probabilities of bursting, and this is what the game wants you to find out. If you play the game only once without practicing it, then this is the winning strategy I've developed and recommend you to adopt from the onset. At the beginning, pump a few balloons of different colors until they burst. This way you will soon find out how long each type of the balloons usually lasts. Then for the rest of the game, collect the money for pumping the low capacity balloons very early, but really max it out for the strong balloons before you collect the money. This strategy will yield the highest reward and certainly make you appear smartest. Keypresses. Next game, Keypresses. Well, this game Not sure what I shall say about it. In this game, you are asked to, for just a few seconds, hit the spacebar on your keyboard as fast and many times as possible. You are instructed to start destroying your spacebar once you see a go on your screen, and you immediately stop once you are told so. Let us demonstrate this. Go! Stop! So now you know what is expected from true top performers. If you like this video this far, please don't just destroy your keyboard, but also the like button below this video. Easy or hard? The next game though is intellectually a bit more challenging. Still, to a certain extent it confuses me to this day, and I look forward to learning about your reactions to it in the comments. The rules of the game. During each round of a game, you can choose to either do an easy task or a hard task. To complete the easy task, you need to hit your spacebar 5 times within 3 seconds, very doable. To resolve the hard task, you are assigned 12 seconds but need to smash your spacebar a whopping 60 times. When you complete the easy task, you have a chance to earn a saved dollar. If you choose the hard task, you have a chance to win an amount that varies between $1.24 and $4.30. I don't know why this range looks so uneven. On top of that, whichever task you choose, you are presented with the probability to actually win that promised amount, which varies from round to round. During each round, you have up to 5 seconds to decide which task you want to play, depending on the reward for the hard task and the overall probability to get a reward. Very importantly, you only have 2 minutes for this game overall. Sounds a bit confusing? Yeah, I know. Let me show you how this game looks in practice. Just as a gentle reminder, so that I do not receive any complaints, this footage is not taken from the original Pymetrics games, but from a perfect simulation of the games. What is my recommendation to you for this game? Well, this game still puzzles me. Given that the probability to win the promised rewards always applies to both tasks, it does not lead to any bias in expectation values. Hence, when I played the game, I did the maths. I can earn $1 safely in 3 seconds, or can win between $1.24 or $4.30 in 12 seconds. In other words, I can earn $4 safely in 12 seconds through 4 easy tasks, or I can try the hard task to usually earn an even lower amount in 12 seconds. So I think in order to maximize your earnings, it would actually be smart to almost always do the easy tasks. Do you agree or disagree? Kindly let me know in the comments. The problem is that I don't think this is what the game wants you to do. Probably this game wants to figure out if you're an ambitious or a lazy person, but also if you flexibly adjust your effort to the expected reward. So, to show you take into account the information you are given, I suggest you to opt for the easy task if the common probability of earning any reward is low and the hard task reward is set near the lower bound. If both the hard task reward and the probability to earn it are high, then choose the hard task. There is one further complication. After I practiced the game a couple of times, I learned that between the rounds, there also are the screens asking you to choose a task as well as the screens reporting whether or not you have received a reward. I am not 100% sure, but it seems that these intermittent screens also eat up a bit of the playtime, so that the 4 easy tasks lasting 3 seconds including the admin screens actually may take up a bit more time than one task of 12 seconds. So I broke this game down into as many details as possible, and I hope you end up less confused than me. Money Exchange 1. For a moment of relaxation, let's get to what I would say are the 2 easiest and least stressful Pymetrics games, Money Exchange 1 and 2. Let me demonstrate you how the first Money Exchange game works. Hey my friend, I've got $10. If I decide to send you a certain share of my $10, that amount I transfer will get tripled once it reaches you. Afterwards, you're free to send me any amount back that you like. Are you gonna do that? Sure. This game wants to assess your attitude towards risk and fairness. Do you tend to trust others even if you do not know them and have no means of punishing them? I have $10 and send you all my $10. Now I have $30. Thank you. What do I get back? Bye bye. Hey! Once the game has been played, you are asked to rate the level of fairness of your game partner on a scale from 0 till 10. Well, of course it would be a 0 on this instance. I'm an economist by training and have analyzed these kinds of games many times, so for the purpose of this Pymetrics game, I recommend you to act like a normal person and avoid the extremes. I would suggest to be decent and send over half of what you have, so that after the first step you have $5 and your partner $15. If your virtual partner returns you somewhat more than $5 in the second step, then you can probably rate the transaction as reasonably fair. Money exchange 2. During the Pymetrics games, you will be confronted with a second money exchange game. This game lasts for 2 rounds. Let me demonstrate its first round. Hey, this time I start with $10 and you with $5. Now, this time I'm asked if I would like to send you an amount between 0 and $5. Oops, I think I sent you nothing. Let me give you an overview over the 2 rounds. In the first round you start with $10 and your partner with $5. You are then asked to send an amount between 0 and $5 to your partner. That's it, there's no tripling and no return transfer. You are then asked to assess the fairness of your transaction on a scale between 1 till 10. The second round is independent of the first round, but otherwise very similar. You and your partner start with the same amounts of money. This time you can either give between 0 and $5 or take between 0 and $5 from your partner. Then again you are asked to rate the fairness of a transaction and fact your own behavior. This game evaluates your generosity and level of altruism. I would assume that the most modern companies want to hire nice people and not sociopaths, so I recommend you to in both games send over $2.50 so both you and your partner in both games end up with the same amounts of money, namely $7.50, and to then give you a high fairness rating, maybe an 8 or so. Now, if you are about to apply to an investment bank, well, then maybe a greedier behavior is expected. Of course, I'm just playing to the good old stereotypes here. If you want to hear my true opinion as a former McKinsey consultant about a career in investment banking, I made a very funny consulting versus banking comparison video here. The 2 money exchange games I found the most relaxing ones in the Pymetrics games because there's no time constraint or other stress factor. Sadly, we are not done here. Watch the next ones. Stop 1. Stop 1 for me is the simplest game among all Pymetrics games. For around 2 minutes you will be shown 80 circles in 2 colors, each time just for split seconds. Whenever you are displayed a red circle you should hit the space bar, when there's a green circle you should do nothing. Even during my first practice run I had a hit rate of 98%. Given I regard this game as very straightforward, let us move on to the remaining more difficult ones. Arrows. Just so you know, there's just one stop 1 game and no stop 2 game, but there are games that unfortunately are much harder. One of them is the arrows game. In the arrows game, you continuously display a set of arrows, normally 5 arrows, which either point to the left or to the right. If the 5 arrows come in blue color, you need to only pay attention to the middle arrow. If it points to the left, you are supposed to hit the left cursor key. If it points to the right, hit the right one. If the arrows are red, you need to disregard the middle arrow and hit the left cursor key if all other 4 arrows point to the left and vice versa. Again, the sets of arrows are displayed to you for only split seconds, and for around 3 minutes you will be shown 135 arrow sets where you have to stay at the middle of your screen. I found this game both tiring and very challenging. Let me give you an impression of the challenge. So you notice it is easier when all arrows point into the same direction anyway. It is more difficult if the center arrow and the side arrows point into different directions. Now how can you excel in this game? First, a big word of warning. As you just saw in the footage sequence from the perfect simulation of the game, sometimes you also only see just one single black arrow. During my first practice game, I did not hit the cursor keys when I saw a single black arrow. However, that was a big blunder, because in the instructions it actually says that if you only see a single black arrow, you should also hit the cursor key with the corresponding direction. For me, this is one of the games where practicing significantly helps to find out what works best for you. Essentially, you only need to look at the center arrow and one of the arrows to the left or right to it, but simultaneously. So you can try to look at both or between the arrows. Over time I figured that for me it was most effective to focus on the center arrow and otherwise rely on my peripheral vision. If you like this video this far, subscribe for further top quality business and career advice. But honestly, Jack, this game got me dizzy. Can we play something more down to earth? Cards. Sure, let's play some cards, but I'm afraid the card game is not as interesting as you may think. You will be presented with 4 decks of cards and are then asked to draw 80 cards from them. Whenever you draw a card, you will either earn a reward or incur a loss. There's no time constraint. To find out if there were some rules to this card game, during my first game I was just randomly drawing cards, while approaching the game with no plan turned out to be a bad idea. I found the game disappointing in so far, since it actually does not matter at all what picture your card shows. They just serve as a vehicle. One moment. After playing the game repeatedly, I recognized that some decks of cards on average yield you both higher rewards, but sometimes also losses. So probably the game wants to assess how you learn and act on information you find out over time, a bit like in the balloon game. Given that on average the gains seem to exceed the losses, I suggested at the beginning of the game you try to identify the most lucrative decks and then demonstrate that you are smart by drawing cards from the most lucrative decks for the remainder of your game. Lengths. Let us talk about the game that I hands down hate the most. It is called Lengths. It is again a high stress and time constrained game that I believe is designed to cause confusion on top, the rules of the game. Again, for just split seconds, you will be presented with either type of 2 faces. If a face has a short mouth, you need to press the left cursor key. If it has a long mouth, you are instructed to press the right cursor key. But wait, Jack, these 2 smileys just look the same. Yes, this exactly is the problem. Here you really need to closely look at the smileys presented to you on the instruction screen. If you do not do that, you will be lost. You need to learn how to discern the 2 smileys from each other. There's one further factor that I just found confusing. If you get displayed a smiley and press the correct cursor key, you will either be displayed a tick mark or a dollar amount you win. I just found this plainly confusing. See here again footage from the simulation. What the heck is going on here? So, besides maybe your attention to detail, the game wants to assess if you act differently if you receive a monetary reward or just a tick mark for pressing the correct key. This could then serve as a proxy for intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. But the entire game is so stressful, and I don't care whether or not I earn some dollar-cent amounts that are not even real. I want to get the job. Furthermore, I do not know in advance if I will earn a reward or not. I just find this game flawed. Rant over. However, you will have to master it. So the best advice I can give on this game is to really spend time on analyzing and memorizing the smileys on the instruction screen, and I'm afraid to say it here, but practicing this game helps. Towers. Let us play the Towers game. No, it is not Jenga. This game for once is a real game and a classic actually. The Pymetrics Towers game is a variant of the original Tower of Hanoi game. I used to play it as a kid as a real puzzle game made of wood. In the game, you will be presented with a target tower that you are supposed to build and which consists of 5 different discs in different colors, following a certain order from the top to the bottom. Then you have 3 tower slots to play with, between which you can move discs. Be aware that you can only move the top discs of each slot, you only have 2 minutes of time to solve this puzzle, and you do not get to see the target tower formation before you launch the game. The game wants you to use as few moves as possible to achieve your goal. Now, let me explain to you how I recommend you to approach this game when you play it for the first time. What is bad if you immediately start by moving around some pieces randomly for simple trial and error? Instead, take some seconds at the beginning of the 2 minutes to craft a plan. This game assesses if you first form a strategy before you act, a competence sought after in many top jobs. So, first think. For the game itself, I initially made the mistake to erect the correct target tower but on a different slot, so I eventually had to move everything again to the correct spot. This blunder for sure would have ruined my real game, so please pay attention to both the order of this displayed as well as the target slot. Keep your target slot free of random disks. Your job is to dig out the bottom target disk first and then to immediately move it to the target slot and so on to rebuild the tower. Phases. Let's get to the last of the 12 Pymetrics games. I give you a little demo here. Hey friend, what emotion do you see here? Yes, so this game looked easy at first, but I also found it rather challenging, which also showed in my initial game performance. You will be presented with 14 facial expressions for short periods of time, and your job is to select the corresponding emotions from a list of 10. The problem arises from the fact that the facial expressions are often ambiguous. Some faces are accompanied by little stories for context, which make it easier to select the right emotion. Shockingly, I believe this game is designed to assess your level of empathy and how well you can read emotions of other human beings. If that really is the case, I would find this fundamentally flawed because in real life, mimical facial expressions move. They are not static, and they are almost always in the context. Anyway, there's no point in criticizing this here, you just need to pass it. I'm afraid for this game I cannot come up with too many recommendations, just I would say whenever you're provided with a facial expression and a story, read the story carefully since it offers you clues that I found somewhat less ambiguous than the faces. Needless to say, this also is one of the games where practicing helps. The 12 Pymetrics games uncovered. I hope you feel much better now since you now know what to expect. My 5 tips on how to prepare and practice for the Pymetrics test. After walking you through the details and providing my specific tips and recommendations on each of the games, I now want to share with you my overall advice on how to prepare for your Pymetrics test. Before doing that, I want to raise one point. Maybe you're surprised that in this video I go through the details first before I move to the bigger picture. This is bottom-up communication. Top management consultants and C-suite board members usually prefer top-down communication. If you can maneuver between when to apply bottom-up and when to apply top-down communication, this will tremendously help you during your job interviews and jobs. I've made a video in which I explain to you the difference between top-down and bottom-up communication, and I think it is hands down to this date one of the best videos on my channel. And spoiler alarm, you get to see how I get roasted by a dragon. If you found this video useful this far, please smash the like button and subscribe for further top quality content on business and consulting careers. I have spent days to make this video and your sub helps my little channel grow. Let me now share with you my recommendations on what to do before you take your Pymetrics test. First, I recommend you to watch at least the first 3 parts of my video on McKinsey's Embellows assignment. McKinsey is the world's leading management consulting firm and makes use of another highly innovative online assessment to screen its candidates called Embellows. At the beginning of my Embellows video, I offer a more detailed introduction on why top companies upset you with tough online assessments. Later in the video, I share my general advice on how to set up yourself on your assessment day for any kinds of online assessments. Put in a nutshell, the Pymetrics test is just another online assessment coming in the disguise of games. And top companies love making use of online assessments. Candidates in most cases do not receive a test performance feedback, so companies can claim to reject applicants on the basis of their game or test performance, even though maybe in reality the reason for the rejection had been the candidate's CV or the fact there are just no jobs available at present. Online assessments are perfect to manage a large pool of applicants, even though I know they are super frustrating for the individual candidate. Second, besides the usual choose a quiet space and make sure you do not get disturbed advice, for the Pymetrics games I would like to alert you on some more specific matters. First, make also sure you sit in a space with a stable internet connection just to ensure that no disaster happens. Second, have pen and paper ready for the digits game, you won't need a calculator. Third, play the game indoors and increase the brightness of your screen. You really need to be able to observe details for many of the games. Fourth piece of advice, in all honesty, make sure you own good hardware, especially a good keyboard. You know there are many games where you need to smash some keys quite heavily and you do not want to get rejected just because your keyboard had been defective. Furthermore, if you, like me, use an external keyboard to absorb the damage from the smashing games, choose one that ideally is wired or at least fully charged. It may be a worthwhile investment to buy a new keyboard coming with a USB cable before playing the games. I share a suggestion for a low price one in the video description. Third, as I briefly mentioned at the beginning of this video, I suggest you to download my free online test prep materials. In my toolkit I've compiled a long list of free resources available online for you to prepare and practice, and these online test resources will also be helpful if you apply outside of the consulting world. In regards to the Pymetrics test, I've added some further links and resources that go even beyond what I can show in this video. You can download your free online test prep materials immediately after signing up to my Yun Consulting newsletter, link in the video description below. Fourth, make good use of this video. I really aim for creating the best video tutorial out there on the Pymetrics test, and I hope the level of detail I provide you with meets your expectations. One aspect of difficulty that all the Pymetrics games have in common is that there are no tutorials, no trials or the like offered. In each of the games you are pushed into cold water and your performance certainly suffers from the surprise effect as a first-time player. Be aware that I have witnessed that some companies give their applicants only a 48-hour notice that they need to do the test, which of course aids to the desired surprise effect. On top of that, you are advised to just be yourself and play, which I think is terrible advice given you need to strive for outperformance. After watching this video, I'm convinced you are already significantly better prepared than candidates who have not gone through this preparatory information. On your actual assessment day, you can pause for as long as you wish between the games, so I suggest that you open this video in parallel to your games, and between the games refresh your memory by watching again the respective game description and strategy advice in this video. I've added a table of contents for you to make it easier for you to navigate between the different sections. Fifth and last but not least, there is one more thing you can do. You know that here on Yun Consulting I try to offer you as much free advice as possible, but if you are willing to invest money to improve your performance in the Pymetrics test, you actually can do even better. Occasionally during this video, I showed you footage from what I called a perfect simulation of the 12 Pymetrics games, which I made heavy use of myself to deepen my own understanding of the games and develop this strategy guide for you. I am still flabbergasted, but this simulation covers the entire 12 Pymetrics games and delivers, in my humble opinion, a perfect copy of the actual games. Furthermore, in addition to the simulations, you are provided with detailed explanations on the purpose and optimal solution strategies behind each game. I have done days of research and interviewed several recent Pymetrics test takers to reconfirm this with safety. I also believe that to this date, this is the only simulation available specifically designed to help with the preparation of the actual games of the Pymetrics test. I do not say this lightheartedly, but practicing the game several times significantly improved my own performance, and so will yours. I just can't deny that fact. I add the link to the Pymetrics game simulation to the video description. Actually, even if you decide that this video and my many tips and resources will be enough for you, I suggest you to nevertheless take a look at the link. On the test provider's landing page, you actually find a nice written guide on the Pymetrics games with some free tips too. Tips on the Pymetrics games sequence on your assessment day and summary. There's still some further advice I want to share with you. Let us talk about the order of the games, which I think is stacked against your favor. Generally, the easier games come first, and by the time you have got relaxed a little and concentration vanishes, you get confronted with the tougher games. In this video, I taught you through the games in this order. If a Pymetrics company does not change it at some point, at present you will need to go through the games in a slightly different order, which I want to share with you with some extra advice. Money Exchange 1 is a nice warm-up game with no time constraint, easy. Keypresses is the game where you need to hit your spacebar as fast as possible, so this is a good warm-up for your keyboard. Balloons is actually one of the more fun games, still coming without a time constraint. Money Exchange 2 again is another rather chilled game without a time constraint. By this time you may think the Pymetrics games feel all too easy, but don't be mistaken and don't get lulled into a false sense of security. For digits, have pen and paper ready and apply the strategy I taught you earlier. If you apply it correctly and create a long sequence of digits, this game can take longer and your eyes will tire from staring at the screen for so long. So I advise you to take a quick break afterwards. Easy or Hard is the first game where you really need to process a lot of information in a short time and will get stressed. Take a quick break afterwards to relax your eyes. Stop Run game is easy, but still requires you to stare at the center of the screen for some time. The Cards game is weird, but not really stressful. Still take a quick break after the game to prepare your eyes for the Arrows game, which belongs to the ugliest games of the entire series and is long as well. By this time you may already feel a little tired, but here you need your concentration and attention the most. Once you have finished the game, take a break of a few minutes to relax your eyes, since you will need to strain them again in the next game. Together with the Arrows game, the Lengths game is the most terrible one. Again, you need to stare at the screen for a few minutes, take another brief break after the game. When you have reached the Towers game, the worst is over. Still remember you only have 2 minutes for this game as well, so this game does come with a stress factor too. The Faces game also comes with a time constraint, but it's not too bad. The game is not easy either, but not as stressful as some of the other ones. And once you have gone through all the games, celebrate a little and get some fresh air. In case you decide to practice the games in advance to your assessment day, I have highlighted for you those games where practicing helped me the most. If Pymetrics Run Day allows you to choose the perfect order of games yourself, then I may publish another video to recommend you the perfect order I would choose to go through them, but for now, take this advice to heart when going through the current sequence of games. What to avoid? This video will become a long one, but I want to give you 2 further pieces of advice. First, as I said, I've done a ton of research to prepare this video tutorial, and I saw sometimes you are advised to play some computer puzzle games for preparation. Well, while I enjoy playing games a lot, I think it will not help you too much to play random computer games. First, the Pymetrics games appear rather peculiar to me, and second, the Pymetrics games are not the only assessment you need to prepare for. Hence, prepare for the games in a focused manner, but reserve time to prepare for the other online tests you need to go through as well as for your interviews. Second, and this is a bigger one, at the beginning of this video I had briefly mentioned that the Pymetrics games are designed to map you out as a human being along these 9 personality traits. The Pymetrics games pledged not to judge your performance as such, but to find out who you are and find a job that matches your individual strengths. It claims this is done by asking employees of the Pymetrics client companies to take the Pymetrics test internally in order to create a sample of decent size, and then your test performance is compared to the average performance of employees that have your target job in order to assess if your personal character would be a good fit. This promise sounds impressive, and I can imagine that some recruiters may get thrilled over the prospect of being able to get to know you without getting to know you. On the basis of this Pymetrics promise, some people recommend you to first find out the ideal avatar or character for your target company and job, and second to demonstrate their qualities while playing the games. I think this is very bad advice and overcomplifies things. My advice is just forget about all this personality fluff talk. First, you do not really know about the average personalities in your target companies according to the Pymetrics matrix. Second, you do not know how the game's AI exactly measures your personality traits. Third, I personally think that the claim to create a holistic characterization of you as a human being with your unique strengths and features from these games is anyway not attainable. And most importantly, most of the games are about being better, faster, more exact and so on. The companies you apply to hire top performers, and this is why they put this online test in front of you. Therefore, maybe except for the 2 money exchange games, focus on delivering a top performance. I look forward to your comments, questions, feedbacks below this video. What do you think about the Pymetrics games? What was your test experience? And do you have some extra advice to share? Drop it in the comments, I will get back to every one of you. And if you have no other comment but watched the video until here, please testify it by writing "Game Over." Like, subscribe and share if you find this video helpful. We are almost at the end, but one more thing. Hey my friend, what is going on with you? Why are you still here? I had thought you got that job offer. Yeah, that is correct. but that online assessment sucked so much. It didn't make me feel valued as a human being, so I decided that I continue playing proper games for now. Wow, the next end boss! Good luck with your test.